Assalamu alaikum viewers. Welcome back to our channel. Mahbara Mushtaq is once again here to discuss the fourth and the last part of our chapter Computer Software. In our previous lectures, we discussed about software, the types of system software, application software, and the types of application software. In today's lecture, we'll discuss language processors, its types like assembler, interpreter, compiler. But before discussing language processors, you should know about programming language. So today we will discuss programming language also. Dear viewers, programming languages are the languages which computer programmers use to write computer software. प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज वो लैंग्वेज होती है जो कंप्यूटर प्रोग्रामर्स यूज़ करते हैं एक कंप्यूटर सॉफ्टवेयर या कंप्यूटर प्रोग्राम लिखने के लिए. So, programming languages are called low level or high level. There are two types of programming language, low level language and high level language. They are so called depending on how close they are to the language the computer uses itself. That is the machine language or the language of zeros and ones. The more a programming language resembles the human language, the higher is its level. So we'll discuss the types of these language one by one. The first is low level language. Low level language, the first type of low level language is machine language. Machine language is the first generation language. जब कंप्यूटर आया तब जो भी इंस्ट्रक्शंस कंप्यूटर पे लिखते थे वो इसी लैंग्वेज में लिखते थे, मशीन लैंग्वेज में. इट इज़ अ लो लेवल लैंग्वेज. It's also called a language of zeros and ones, yeah, binary language. It is a first generation language. It is a machine dependent language because instructions are written in accordance with processor. हम instructions कंप्यूटर को देते हैं वैसे ही देते हैं जैसे हमें प्रोसेसर बोलता है देने को. But it's very difficult for a person to read machine code and understand the purpose of what it is doing. It's very difficult and time consuming to communicate with a computer using the machine language. Zeros and ones में प्रोग्राम ये करना लर्न करना प्रोग्राम राइट करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है, बहुत डिफ़िकल्ट है. सो the next stage was the development of alternative language, and that language is assembly language. Assembly language is also a low level language. It is also a machine dependent language but a second generation language. It uses abbreviations for program instructions. For writing instructions or for writing programs, it uses abbreviations, and those abbreviations are termed as mnemonic codes. Like we use add for addition of two words, sub for subtraction, mul for multiplication, etc. Both the previous mentioned generations of language had some shortcomings. So it was only natural that high level languages were developed. High level language make communicating with computers more like speaking in English. High level language is the third generation language. It is a language which enables a programmer to write programs that are more or less independent of a particular type of computer. That is, it is a machine independent language. It makes communicating with computers more like speaking in English and is easy to debug. High level languages are easier to understand. High level language आसानी से understand होती है, and we can write easily our instructions on the computer with the help of high level language. And high level language are not machine dependent languages. They free the programmers from having to know the details of the processor. The examples of high level language is Basic, Fortran, Java, C++, etc. The next high level language is the fourth generation language. It is also called as very high level language. this fourth generation language are easier to learn than the third generation language. This type of language is non-procedural, and the first three generations of language are procedural. I will tell you what is a procedural and what is a non-procedural language. In a non-procedural language, we just write what we want a computer to do. While as in a procedural language, we provide the details of how it is to be done. Say for example, you have to write table of 5. In a non-procedural language, you just write the table of 5. Rest the computer will do itself. But in a procedural language, you have to write all the steps of table of 5. This was the difference between procedural and non-procedural language. Dear students, if we have to write hundreds of lines in a program in a third generation language, the same operation requires only 5 to 10 lines in a fourth generation language. So fourth generation language is more better than third generation language. The examples of this fourth generation language is Ramis, Python, PHP, etc. Now, language processors. Dear students, as you already know that language processors are the translators which translates language of any program in a machine language. So, the first is assembler. Assembler is a translator which translates assembly language into machine language. ये एक translator है जो assembly language को translate करता है machine language, because computer only understands machine language, so we have to translate the programs written in any other language into machine language. Assembler translates assembly language into machine language. The next is interpreter. Interpreter is the translator which translates high-level language program into machine language line by line. It translates one line at a time and executes the translated instructions before going to the next line. ये वो translator है जो high level language को translate करता है in machine language में, but it translates the program line by line. ये पहले एक लाइन को ट्रांसलेट करता है, उसको एग्जीक्यूट करता है, फिर दूसरी लाइन पे जाता है, उसको ट्रांसलेट करता है, उसको एग्जीक्यूट करता है. So it translates the program line by line. The last type of language processor is compiler. Compiler is same as interpreter, but it translates the whole program written in high-level language into machine language in one go. It does not translate line by line, but it translates the whole program in one go. एक ही बारी पूरे प्रोग्राम को ही ट्रांसलेट करता है, चाहे वो प्रोग्राम कितना ही बड़ा हो. Dear viewers, this was all from your chapter Computer Software. Thank you, stay safe and have a good day.